Been some pretty big cyber attacks recently. Jaguar Land Rover, you might remember, Marks and Spencer have also been targeted by hackers, and they each took big financial hits because of it.
Yeah, it's not just the big companies, it should be said, though, who are at risk, because lots of cyber criminals after a quick buck, and they've realised a great way of getting that is hacking into office buildings, any office building really, including CCTV, sensors, even the main doors sometimes as well.
Joining us now is Sanjaya Ranasinghe, Vice President for Research and Development at WiredScore. It's a company which focuses on making the world's buildings smarter and better connected. Sanjay, great to have you with us. So this is really, we're talking about cyber attacks, but also physical buildings.
Yes.
And there was an example a year or so ago in California that you can retell for us that kind of brings us to light, where people can kind of weaponize the physical building.
Yeah, so the challenge that the industry faces is that more and more the devices in buildings, so things that control door access, for example, or the heating or the ventilation, are now connected to the internet. So that means that if you can hack into those devices, as per any other hack, you suddenly can get control over the building. And the incident you talked around in California was one where the building was got hacked. The hackers took control of the door access control and the fire alarms, actually, and set off a fake fire alarm. So the alarm started going, everyone started to leave the building when they realised it wasn't a test, and they got to the doors and they couldn't get out.
Wow.
And then everything just stopped, though. The fire alarm stopped, the doors just opened again, everything went back to normal operation, just a click of the fingers. But it was just more like a proof of concept of what's happened.
So that wasn't people trying to nick money or anything, that was literally almost like a kind of show of power.
In a way, yes. But I think what we have also seen is that this is a really active way of getting ransom payments, because what you're doing is a digital attack on a building, which has then physical operational consequences, and people want to get buildings back up and running as quickly as possible, which means paying ransoms.
And are big corporations paying those ransoms and trying to keep, if they've been threatened or hacked, trying to keep that on the down low, and it sort of serves them, they might think in the short term wrongly, serves them better to pay up or not? I guess I'm saying there are lots that we don't know about. We mentioned two that we've heard about. Are there lots that we haven't heard about?
The short answer is yes, but just to put it into context, what we're talking about is these large central London office buildings with multiple occupiers, multiple companies in there, and it's the landlords and the operating companies that see these threats. So something suddenly comes in that takes out all of the heating and ventilation for the building. So it's not, and that's focused on, because there might be very high profile occupiers, companies working in those buildings, and therefore the risk is high. The owners and operators of those buildings don't want to show to those high-profile companies that their building's at risk, and that's a threat. So paying of those ransoms has become something that we're hearing is happening more and more often under the radar.
Can I talk about AI? Is it changing the picture for these kind of hacks?
Yeah, the challenge that AI brings to the industry, and actually any industry that's facing cyber threats, is the lowering of the barrier to entry to an attack, because you can basically ask the AI what to do, and at the scale at which you can deploy it.
So the risk is people using AI saying, how do I hack into this building, and AI telling them. Is that what is happening? So, AI would actually tell you how to do that?
Yeah, obviously the companies involved are trying to put defences in place to stop this happening, but yeah, you see more and more reports of, you will have that AI assistant as you do in day-to-day life, and if you're nefarious, you can get nefarious assistance.
Yeah.
What's the way to protect against it?
So it's really simple. It's the same measures that companies and corporations are doing for their IT equipment, their laptops and their mobile phones, to make sure they're safe, but applying that to what we call operational technology. So the technology that's behind the scenes that makes a building run. So that could be the lighting, it could be the heating, it could be the CCTV systems, making sure that those systems, now they're connected to the internet, are treated with the same level of security as the rest of the IT stock in a company.
I know this is not your area of expertise, but I just think, for a lot of people watching, we don't run buildings or control doors or whatever, but what a lot of us are really aware of is scams, right? And people being scammed. And I've been reading an awful lot recently about how AI is going to really make these scams much more effective, whether it's like replicating people's voices on the phone to try and get you to transfer money or whatever it might be. Is that something that you're kind of aware of happening?
Yeah, and I think the key message to bring across is that even at buildings, it's the same vulnerabilities that attackers are trying to get at. So it is still phishing emails, it is still the human being in the loop and being the vulnerability itself. So all of those same methods of attack that we face in our day-to-day life are the attacks that are targeting buildings as well.
Sanjaya, thanks so much for joining us. Really interesting.